Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm John Adams, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineer, Transatlantic Division, Director of Programs and Business. Um, this is my 37th year of being an engineer, and I find it to be a real noble profession, and I'll elaborate a little bit more as we go through the questions. Over to you, Ingrid.
Okay. Um, Hi, my name is Ingrid Howard, and I've been a civil structural geotechnical engineer for 25 years. And I currently work at TED as a regional lead engineer within the Engineering and Construction Division. Initially, I did foundation design, static loading test, and geotechnical exploration, earthwork construction inspection type of work in private sectors. So I've been in 21 countries, and currently I'm responsible for the engineering processes, procedures, and quality of products and services within the Middle East District and Transatlantic Expeditionary District. Now to you, Ted.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ted Upson. I'm a regional construction engineer for TAD. I began my career in the private sector. I'm a geotechnical engineer by training and trade, but I've gotten into a lot of different things. I really enjoy construction, being around construction sites. I like the smell of dirt and concrete. That's fun to me. Like getting my hands dirty when I can. And I began my training at the University of Florida. I'm a proud Florida Gator. And I really enjoy working with TAD, getting out to see things in the field, getting to visit a lot of different places, see different people in different countries. It's a really exciting place to work. Zenovia?
Yes, good morning. So I'm Zenovia Wilcox. I am a licensed architect in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I have 30 years of experience. I am currently a program manager within the Programs Integration Division at the Transatlantic Division. I really enjoy the opportunities that I have to work with all the various customers and stakeholders. Now I'll turn you over to Steve Marklin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Marklin. I've been a degreed mechanical engineer for 44 years and a licensed professional engineer for 33 years. I'm currently working in the Transatlantic Division as a program manager in the Business Integration Division. I've had experience in multiple manufacturing companies throughout the United States, and before coming to USACE, and really love the work in USACE, the travel, the sites, and just the scope of the engineering projects that we work on. And now we'll finish with Dan Lyons.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dan Lyons, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Transatlantic Division Chief of Engineering and Construction. I've been in the field of architecture about 37, 38 years almost, and I really enjoy working at the Corps of Engineers due to the experiences with Transatlantic Division that I'm currently at. Travel, exciting projects, lots of challenges, and working with the engineers on every project just makes me want to do more.
There's an outstanding amount of engineering experience right there. I can't wait to hear from you. Now that we met our engineers, let's find out what they do. Our first question, Mr. Adams, when did you first decide you wanted to be an engineer, and what inspired that decision?
Hey, thanks, Kat. I first realized that I wanted to be an engineer when I was a kid, and and I've always been fascinated with construction of roads and bridges, like this bridge behind me. But I think that kind of shaped me wanting to be a civil engineer, and I did. I went to Virginia Military Institute, got a degree in civil engineering, and then, as I mentioned, I went to work as a federal engineer, both for Naval Facilities Engineering Command for the first part of my career, and then the Corps for the second part of my career. But I think what is really neat about engineering is you can use your creativity every day to solve a complex problem affecting our nation and world. And we need engineers more now than ever to tackle the big problems with sea level rise, energy conservation, weaning ourselves of fossil fuels, and infrastructure deterioration. So it's a big infrastructure deterioration is a big focus of the administration right now. Opportunities to travel. Like Ingrid said, I too have worked in multiple countries. I was counting them last night. Over 20 countries I've actually stood in and worked in. So it's opportunities for travel. If you're adventurous, there are always opportunities for engineers to get out and get dirty in the soil, as Ted likes to say, and make a difference for everyone. Making a difference. Our efforts have a major impact on the world. Our profession is a noble and ethical one, ensuring that we design and build safe structures. And oh yeah, the pay is pretty good too, starting salary. And you really don't have to, you can go right in with an undergraduate degree as opposed to suffering through graduate school and other training programs. So you can hit the ground running with the bachelor in civil engineering and make a difference. Thank you.
All right, Steve.
Yeah.
What was the most challenging part of your journey to becoming an engineer, and what has been the most rewarding?
Thanks, Kat. Those first steps becoming an engineer were challenging. I got my bachelor's in mechanical engineering out of Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, or RPI is a lot easier to say. But I was armed with all this engineering theory, and I had absolutely no experience in how to apply it. I started with Shell Oil Company down in Houston in a huge petrochemical plant. So they recruited a lot of new hires every year for engineers, and I was assigned a really good mentor that guided me through that initial period. Completing those first projects was really rewarding for me and a huge confidence builder going forward. I get that same feeling of pride when I see any project I've had some part in completed. It just really swells up, and you're just proud of that whole team that you've worked with on that job. Back to you, Kat.
All right, for our next question, we're going to switch over to Ingrid. So we've heard about all of these things engineers are doing. What do engineers do for the nation, and how does the Transatlantic Division support that?
Yeah, Kat. So engineers support the nation by providing any inventions, designs, analysis, building and testing, any machines, a complex system of structure and materials, while considering the limitations imposed by practicality, regulation, safety, and cost. Engineers design and build bridges, buildings, dams, ports, roads, or specific material or technology. Here at the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Transatlantic Division, we support our nation by providing engineering solutions for our mission partners in Central Command region that covers Middle East and Central Asia. And we also support the U.S. Special Operations Command. We deliver innovative, resilient, and sustainable solutions to the U.S. Department of Defense and the nation. Establish the conditions for regional security and stability throughout Middle East and Central Asia. So we do engineering and design through our in-house design staff, uses other districts or centers, and architects and engineering firm partners. We do horizontal and vertical construction, foreign military sales, projects that may include design, engineering, construction, procurement, and delivery of equipment, facility operations and maintenance, or other related activities. We also are water resources expertise, and we do environmental baseline survey. Now, under Transatlantic Division, we have two districts, the Middle East District and Transatlantic Expeditionary District. The types of engineers we have are the civil, structural, geotechnical, mechanical, electrical, fire protection, and communications. Back to you, Kat.
Wow, that is a lot of stuff the Corps of Engineers, and especially the Transatlantic Division, does for the nation. When a non-engineer like myself is just, it's almost hard to wrap your head around how many amazing things engineers are doing and how many things you're connected to, and the different kinds of engineers. So for our next question, I'm going to go over to Dan. So Dan, you're an architect. Can you tell us a little bit about the working dynamics between engineers and architects?
Yeah, engineers and architects may have different roles, but they each have to work together to create functional and aesthetically pleasing living and working environments for all living creatures on this earth. Architects have the role of making their clients' dreams or taking their clients' dreams and creating a virtual reality of their needs and desires into concept design. They work side by side with engineers and contractors to design and transform this design into reality. I've been a part of many challenging and rewarding projects throughout my career and always look forward to doing more. At the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, we have projects all over the world, and making this a very exciting career to join and see what you too can accomplish. Back to you.
So, Zenovia, what are some of the most challenging or unique projects you've worked on over the years? We've heard a lot about the things engineers do, but what's something that's very unique and challenging that you've seen throughout your years?
Okay, so that's a really good question. So one of the most unique projects that I had the distinct pleasure to work on was on the Fizzle Material Storage Facility program. That was a program that basically was a joint cooperative program between one country and the United States. And what we were doing was actually taking the fissile material that was decommissioned from nuclear weapons, and we were actually designing and constructing a nuclear storage facility within this deep mountain, and the actual storage facility was like a football field size storage facility. It was embedded in the mountain. It was about 3 or 4 stories underground, and so you needed to have that storage nest where the nuclear material was stored encased and down in the ground, so that we could control the thermodynamics from all that heat coming off of this nuclear fissile storage material. And so one of the most exciting things about it was that it was the joint cooperation between the Russians and the United States, that the engineers that were actually together working to solve this complex problem, because this was a one-of-a-kind facility. And that was the most unique facility I've ever had the opportunity to work on. Back to you, Kat.
Wow, I'm telling you, as a non-engineer, even working around engineers all of this time, I am always amazed at the things y'all are actually doing. It's pretty amazing. A follow-up question to that, Zenovia, if you don't mind. What kind of challenges do women face in the engineering profession? Are there challenges and things to being a woman in this profession?
Yes, there are some challenges to being a woman in the engineering and architectural profession. And so for me personally, one of the biggest challenges that I had to deal with was trying to work alongside more senior architects and engineers and trying to get them to assign me more challenging projects. And so I was able to overcome that by, number one, being a team player. So when you're a team player, you do what they ask you to do. And as you are a team player, they develop that trust in you, and then they begin to assign you more challenging work. And so that's how I was able to overcome that challenge. Back to you, Kat.
All right. Ted, a question. What is the most rewarding part of engineering for you?
Well, that's a tough one, Kat. I'll tell you. There is so much that I find rewarding about engineering. I could probably talk on this for hours, honestly. But I think if I had to pick something, I'd probably say, traveling about, whether it's my local community or somewhere across the world, and seeing not only projects that I've been involved in, but projects that other engineers have been involved in. For me, whether it's something as small as a parking lot or a cell phone tower, or something as large as a major bridge over the Potomac River, these projects that I've worked on, I see them and I realize how I've changed the world. How I've made the world better, made the community better. When I see that cell tower, I drive by, and when my cell phone works, because that cell tower's there, because we worked on that. When I cross the river on the bridge, we're able to cross this with a gazillion cars a day because I helped build that. And then as I see other people's projects that I know engineers have worked on, I become really aware of how, if you look back at history, our world is really defined by engineers. It really is. If you think back, how do we define the passage of time and the stages of human development? You think of, you had the Iron Age, the Bronze Age. And what are those? Those are really what the caveman engineers, if you will, were using to build things. That's how they define the world. You move forward, you get to the Industrial Age. What's that? It's about engineers. It's about engineers furthering society, creating industry, creating manufacturing. You get to now where we are now with the Information Age. What does that really mean? Why are we in the Information Age? We're here because of engineers. We're here because engineers designed and built systems, to pass information all across the world with lightning speed. So I think just seeing how we change the world, I'm part of that, and just at times kind of reflecting on that and thinking about how, I had this tiny little part in creating all these wonderful things for society, pushing our society forward, making things better for people. Something like that seems so simple as when you turn on the faucet in your bathroom, and you take that so easily for granted. But it's because we live in the United States where that is easy, and we should take that for granted. There should be no question the water coming out of there is safe and clean and ready for us to drink and be healthy. But there are millions, if not billions, of people in the world who don't have that because they lack the engineering. That's what we bring. We bring that every day. And in a funny way, it's somewhat more rewarding that so many people take it for granted. So many people wake up and use a system that an engineer designed, or trust that the roof isn't going to fall down when the wind blows. And it's kind of rewarding to think that they take that for granted. And I'm one of the people who get to participate in that. I get to see it getting built, and I can walk around my world and understand what's going on with those and realize how important engineers have been, and just creating all of that for our world.
Wow.
Thanks, Scott.
I'm telling you, as a non-engineer working around engineers, I am amazed every day. And you're right, I look at things differently now as I see each of the projects all of you work on, and I talk to you and you explain things to me, and I realize how much it does touch all of our lives. It just sounds like an amazing profession. Steve, a question for you.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to people who are considering engineering as a career?
Thanks, Kat. If you're thinking about becoming an engineer, the first steps that I would recommend for you would be to talk to people in the profession and ask them about their work and stories. Their stories can inspire you, just like this panel. The many stories that people have related here. You can find opportunities to talk to engineers and architects and some of the professional societies that are around. They have monthly meetings, they have conferences, and in some areas they reach out to local high schools to conduct STEM events or even offer scholarships. It's a good way to make a connection with professionals. Here in town in Winchester, I attend the local Society of American Military Engineer meetings. They're great topics, but also a good way to interface and relate to other professionals. If you are in an engineering curriculum in a college, getting an internship with an engineering firm or a manufacturing company can give you invaluable experience, and it can really help shape your future decision to become an engineer. USACE has many internship opportunities. We've had a couple of interns come through here recently. at USACE here in Winchester, and you can find them by looking through the USA Jobs website underneath for internships. So there's a lot of opportunities, but it's a way to really get your hands on and find out what engineers really do, and see if that is the inspiration you need to move forward with that profession. Thank you.
Hey, Kat, Steve, if I could jump in for a second, can I comment on that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think also anybody considering a career in engineering, I think it's important also to not neglect your training in communication, and if you're a high school, college student, your English classes. I think that a lot of us engineers, I mean, it's a joke that engineers can't spell or write, and it's funny. And unfortunately for a lot of us, it is somewhat true, because we get so focused on our math and our science, because that's what we enjoy. That's what we love to do. That's what's fun for us. It's fun to solve problems. And sometimes writing and communication is not the fun part for us. So a lot of us don't really enjoy to do it. But you got to focus on that, because it is sometimes a weakness. So just my advice to young budding engineers is don't neglect your English classes. Pay attention, work in those two, because there's a very good chance that you don't enjoy it, and don't let it become a weakness for you. Thanks.
Yeah, it reminds me of during college, I had a technical writing class. It was probably one of the best classes I ever I took throughout engineering. So it had a big impact on my career.
All right, and Mr. Adams, if you're in the professional engineering career, and why should you work for someone like the Corps of Engineers, and more specifically the Transatlantic Division? What unique things do we offer?
Hey, okay, thanks, Kat. Well, first off, the profession needs creative minds now more than ever to help us solve our nation's and world's toughest engineering challenges. Whether it's to repair a deteriorating infrastructure or to seek innovative ways to combat climate change and its impacts, engineering is a noble profession that improves the quality of life for all of us. As Ted mentioned, a lot of folks just take it for granted they can turn water onto their spigot or plug a toaster into the kitchen outlet. But I can tell you from experience that working for the Corps of Engineers will immediately provide you with responsibilities that takes years to gain in the private sector. I think that you heard that from the panel this morning as well. And with these responsibilities, you'll be guided and mentored by seasoned team members along the way. Just an incredible wealth of knowledge. I mean, right here among this panel, there's hundreds of years of experience on this panel. What we do here at TAD, specifically at Transatlantic Division, directly supports national security objectives abroad to make our world a safer place for our country, as well as for our allies and partners. And so I think that's important. And a lot of us think we're just over there building stuff, but it really is making an impact, a positive impact on our security back home and with our mission partners. I do believe that our best recruiters for bringing in new talented engineers are all of us combined that have experienced the positive benefits and experience we have garnered from working on complex and strategically significant projects. We need to tell the story every day about just the great things that the Corps of Engineers does, not only stateside with their big civil works program, repairing infrastructure, building barracks and child development centers to support our U.S. forces, but abroad where we're just keeping us safer, and I think that's really what it's all about, and having a positive impact on our various mission partners abroad.
Hear me now? I'd say of all of the different projects that I have worked on throughout my career, working at the Corps of Engineers has probably been the most exciting, because I wasn't just doing another school, a hospital, although those are challenging in that there's a lot of those around. The part that's exciting to me about working for the Corps of Engineers is not only do you travel to other countries at the TAD, Transatlantic Division, where I'm working, but you meet a lot of different engineers and you talk to them with the way they think of doing things in other countries. But the challenge projects that I like being involved with are many of them I've even led the design team on, they're things you've never done before. And you wouldn't have seen them or experienced them without joining the Corps of Engineers, because some of these things are first of their kind. And that just excites me, doing something that's never been done before and seeing it all the way through, solving all the problems, working with the engineers to make it work. And in the end, seeing the results and then seeing them get repeated. Like, you know, a school has been built and now another one, and they make it look better or more aesthetically pleasing. But being the first one to do something is something, if you're looking for an engineering career, something that you can really accomplish if you work for the Corps of Engineers.
So I'd like to chime in also and just put a plug in for the Corps of Engineers research and development. That was one of the big things also during my careers. I had a lot of opportunities to work with ERDIC and with the Protective Design Center, and I found that work to be very, very rewarding. So specifically on the overhead cover project that we worked on in Iraq, we actually went to Fort Polk. We actually constructed a facility there. We actually detonated a weapon there to test out this overhead cover structure and design. So that's also, I want to put in a plug for that as well. The engineering and research opportunities within the Corps of Engineers.
Just thinking about my career, you know, by the time I joined the Corps, I had almost 30 years of engineering experience under my belt. But what was unique about USACE, my first overseas assignment, we went to Qatar. So that, just the cultural aspects of working with people, as Dan said, you're not only working with your team, but also with a culturally different group of people, trying to take their ideas and what they're conceptually what they want and turn it into reality. So the cultural differences and just working with that was just opened up another area. You know, it kind of excited you to go to work there, even though it was a 14-hour plane ride, but got you there. But it just totally excited you.
Yeah, that's Steve. I think that's a lot of fun because you realize how we all speak engineering. You know, you go and you visit people from other countries and you have trouble speaking English, but once you get to the numbers and the physics of the situation, it's really fun to have that in common with somebody who is geographically so far away, and you find out how much you have in common. You can sit there and talk about, you know, engineering properties or something, and no matter where you are in the universe, it's always going to be the same.
Yeah, I think, Kat, this is John. So I think also, a unique quality of, working for the Corps is we're, 35,000 plus members throughout the United States and the world. And really, so, I mean, we got 49 districts and 9 divisions supporting various programs. But I guess through my experience through the years, I've made those personal contacts. So really, I mean, I think we all have in some way through our, working with other diverse teams of folks throughout the whole Corps of Engineers, how you've developed those contacts so you can immediately reach out to them and, bounce ideas off, how would you fix this? How would you solve this? And usually, I mean, you find somebody that has experienced a similar situation in the past. But, I think, for me, I think, as a young engineer, when I first started out, I got sent up to the mountains in West Virginia to go work on a project by myself. The engineer there was getting out of the Navy. This was back in my NAVFAC days, and I just remember my boss saying, "I'm sending you up there. We got your back. We trust you." And I think just having that professional support was really a confidence booster for me. And, I think, and again, like, as I mentioned earlier, us federal engineers get a lot of responsibility early on in our career. And it's amazing. Just the connections that you can make and, the experiences that you can garner in a short period of time in your career. Thanks.
Who's your favorite engineer? Like throughout history, or even someone who's alive today, but historically, who's your favorite engineer? Mr. Adams? Put you on the spot here.
That's a really good question. Do you think that Leonardo da Vinci was an engineer? What he did during that period of time was absolutely amazing and just forward-looking. So I think I was always, intrigued by just the things that he would design and come up with, just, at the time, cutting edge. So I think, I think that was kind of inspirational for me, just, reading about him and just looking at the various portfolio of things that he has done. And I guess the second would be, Thomas Edison, just with, his unique forward-looking, ideas that really changed the world with the electric light bulb and other neat equipment and items that he provided during his lifetime. So Leonardo and Thomas Edison are my two that inspired me.
Anyone else?
I was just thinking of the Wright brothers. I got a chance to go down to Kitty Hawk and see their museum down there, and they just were so focused and dedicated to solving that problem of manned flight that it was just amazing about, it just amazes you the dedication and effort that they put into solving that problem. And even though there was several other groups doing the same thing, their focus allowed them to be the first. So I think about that event.
I'll go with John Roebling, the guy who built the Brooklyn Bridge. It's just such an iconic structure to me, and it's stood the test of time for so long. It's still used today. It's been there so long. And I guess if I'm going to say Roebling, then I have to say Roebling and his wife, because there's some argument historically that his wife may have actually been the brains behind everything he did. She, if nothing else, he was really sick from his work toward the end of his life, and she completed what he had started out. But there's some people who believe that she actually was the brain behind everything. But so the pair of them, I guess.
Okay, so Kat, this is Zenovia. So I'm going to pick Pierre Charles Lafont. He was the French-born American architect, designer, urban planner that laid out Washington, D.C. And so what I really like about the layout of Washington, D.C. is that it has all of these vistas and views in the layout of the plan. You could be driving down a street and going down street, and then the way it just opens up to this view of a remarkable piece of architecture. So that's who I would pick. Over.
Ingrid, any thoughts on your favorite engineer?
I only can think about Carl Terzaghi. He was born in Prague. He's the founding father of soil mechanics and essentially civil engineering. So I think we found a lot of formulas that we use these days to design our foundations.
Yeah, Zenovia made me think of one of the. I was really a young kid. I think I was like in elementary school, and I read a book about Benjamin Banneker, who probably nobody knows who he is, but he did a lot of the surveying for Washington, D.C. And he, I think he invented an alarm clock or something like that. But that was probably my earliest really kind of exposure to what a famous engineer, I guess.
Wow. You gave me some names I'm going to have to Google and check out what they do. So one thing I've been seeing online a whole lot lately is, as we come to the end of a century or a decade, it's what engineering product, what engineering device has changed us the most over the last decade, over the last century. The most recent thing I saw was a picture of the horse and buggy beside a brand new Tesla car, and how short of a time period. But then the internet also came in and said, I think maybe the washing machine has been the biggest engineering device that has actually changed life? Any thoughts on what is the one engineering item that has really had the most effect on our daily life?
That's really hard, Cat, stuff. Yeah,
Wow.
cell phone, I think of that. Stuff moves so fast now. I mean, just the technology changes so quickly. It's so hard. Yeah, so, I mean, it took us, what, how many thousands of years to get to where we had actually motorized power with the locomotive, you know? And then 150 years later, you know, or heck, after the locomotive, really less than 100 years later, we're flying planes. You know, so it's just crazy how fast things are moving now. But it feels like the cell phone. I agree with that.
I would say refrigeration. We wouldn't be sitting, be able to work in a lot of climates if we didn't have air conditioning and refrigerators for food storage.
Well, water treatment systems. We didn't go as far as we have engineering-wise with dams and rerouting waterways and desalination. You know, all of those different systems to make our clean water, and in areas where they wouldn't have it otherwise. And there's actually countries out there having to buy water. So that engineering is probably, it's gone a long ways to help humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So it really sounds like there is not a aspect of our lives that engineers don't touch. Like you mentioned earlier, Ted, it touches everything we do. It's really fascinating. I appreciate y'all taking the time to join me today for this. And I look forward to telling the Transatlantic Division story on all these cool things that Transatlantic Division engineers continue to do.